guys. Well, I don't know if anybody here happens to be married, or if you're thinking about getting married, if you're engaged, if you just like the concept of marriage in general.
Well, stop.
Stop. Because Mia Khalifa, twice divorced, ex-adult film star, has some strong opinions on marriage.
She's not ex. She's still on the Only brands.
Only brands. Okay, well, ex IRL porn star.
Yeah, there you go.
Rather than digital porn star. She's got some strong opinions on whether or not you should get married. And of course, in today's culture, the person you should be taking your advice on romantic engagements is likely from an adult film star.
The weirdest thing about her take here is that she's not anti-marriage. She's just pro-divorce.
Super pro-divorce.
She's been married twice, engaged 3 times, and none of these relationships worked out. So her take is basically, don't be afraid to leave your husband. Yeah. Just do it, queen.
Let's watch the video.
It's so dumb.
Here we go.
Oh, we're comparing stats. Baby girl doesn't know that I am Tom Brady at this game. Married at 18, divorced at 21. Second marriage, married at 25, divorced at 28. Third engagement, engaged at 29, ended it at 30, but I kept the ring. I'm still keeping Tom Brady on his toes. We should not be afraid to leave these men. We are not stuck with these people. Marriage is not a sanctimonious thing. It is.
That's not what the word sanctimonious
it's
means.
It's a commitment you make to someone. But if you feel like you're not getting anything from that commitment and you're trying, you gotta go. You gotta go. You have to go. I know it's difficult to fill out paperwork and to make appointments and to do all of these things, but this is your fucking life. Do you want to be stuck with someone? Period. Do you want to be stuck with someone?
First of all, 2 points. One, J-Lo has her beat. J-Lo is way more.
True.
J-Lo is the Tom Brady of divorce. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows that. 2, it proves my point right about just how amazing. There's a scene in the new Twisted Metal where they torture people by making them fill out endless DMV paperwork. This is true.
To Mia Khalifa, the worst thing about getting divorced is the paperwork.
Yeah, she's like, I
just got my nails
done.
She thinks that marriage is just a piece of paper. But
it's a sanctimonious relationship between men and women.
If marriage is just a piece of paper, then I want to ask, like, why did you do that twice, almost 3 times? If it's meaningless, why did you engage in the institution? And this is why I said the best argument against no-fault divorce is just telling these people who clearly don't value the sanctity of marriage to not get married.
Yeah, just don't get married.
It's so easy. It costs $0 to not get married.
I feel like people want, and it's women because men don't care, but like I feel like women want the attention and they want that special day.
They want the wedding.
And they want the wedding.
That's why all of Mia Khalifa's wedding photos were of herself.
There was like there was almost barely any photos of them together. It was all photos of her posing.
Granted, the guy might have been a little bit ashamed to be with her, but
but I mean that's the thing. It's people nowadays don't look at marriage as a commitment. They look at it like dating. They look at it like going out with like extra steps. Like I
dating
really
on hard
like
mode.
Yeah, it's like I really like this person. But because like, oh, it'll be a real hassle. You think it's a pain in the butt to break up with someone?
We got a government certificate that says I really like you.
It's so stupid.
For now.
But
if you do anything that I deem as toxic and you get in the way of my powerful career as an OnlyFans star, then I'm kicking you to the curb.
Wait, what do you mean you said you don't like it when I post content on OnlyFans? Divorced. Like, didn't they have that discussion beforehand? They should.
Yeah, you should have. I mean, there shouldn't be, like in a marriage, you shouldn't have surprises like that. It shouldn't be like, oh, I don't like you posting on OnlyFans. Well, you know what, dummy? I was doing it before we got married. You met me while I was doing it. So don't get married to someone that does things you don't like.
Sort of like Jonah Hill. Like, don't date someone who has swimsuit pictures on their Instagram if you don't want them to have swimsuit pictures on their Instagram.
I was dating this wonderful woman. I loved her to death, but I was not going to move, right? And we dated for a year, and it kind of came to the time where she was like, hey, so what's going on with moving? I was like, I'm really not moving. So we broke up. Tried to get back together again and see if we could kind of figure it out. I'm still not moving.
Yeah.
Like,
It matters.
These things matter. Like, so like be honest with your partner in the beginning and stick to your guns. And then if your partner tells you, hey, these are deal breakers for me, then you have to be like, hey, I'm going to need that. We can't date. Like, that's an option, saying, making the adult decision. I want this, you want that. These things will not work together, so we can't date. We can be friends. Maybe we can screw around if we're grown-ups and we're not, if
Mary
you're not religious.
disavows.
Fine. Some people do, and whatever. Fair enough. I'm a degenerate. I know, like, that Mary's not. I know it's fine. But the point is, you don't have to do things that don't line up with
and that's
the way
what
that you want your
dating is
life.
for. It's to figure out whether you're going to commit to this person for life.
Smartest fucking thing she said in 5 minutes.
And a lot of this has to do with the fact that the state has gotten involved with marriage too, right? That it's no longer a religious ceremony the same way it used to be, and the consumerist nature and the consumerist nature of weddings, like you said earlier, to the guy, he may look at it that way. Like, I don't know if the guys in her life looked at it as a means of like lifelong commitment. I can't speak to that, but I do know that for her, I imagine it had a lot to do with getting the ring and taking the photos and making the posts on social media
and telling your friends so that everyone the attention.
Where her friends will then say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you," and then talk shit behind your back, right? So like,
porn stars get married left and right, and I really don't understand it, but look at what happens to their relationships as the years go by. Usually they don't last. And I think she did say that a factor in her second marriage ending in divorce was the fact that her husband was not comfortable with the fact that all of these videos of her exist on the internet for everyone to see in the most intimate position. And granted, he shouldn't have been dating an ex-porn star or current porn star if he wasn't comfortable with that. But at the same time, these are the consequences of your actions. You can't just say like, oh, I was young, I didn't understand the consequences at the time.
If you can Google an individual's butthole, then you probably should not be marrying that person.
I mean, it's just, I don't want to compare people to products or commodities, but the analogy works that, if everyone has access to something, it's not valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the psychological impact of her having done this stuff in the past makes her an insufferable person to be in a relationship with. Like, you've permanently broken your brain and your ability to pair bond.
Yeah. And that's rampant in the culture now anyways. I mean, just the fact
whether it's related to porn or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, like these general, women who have hooked up with tons of guys, you're going to have a much harder time getting into a lasting relationship when your ability to pair bond has been wrecked by being in the most intimate relationship with hundreds of people and having it end over and over again, or serial monogamy. If you're in a committed relationship over and over again and that ends over and over again, your brain becomes used to the pattern of those types of relationships ending, right?
And you're just expecting it to come to an end.
But telling women this in their own best interests is deemed misogynist now.
You're not allowed to criticize at all. Not really, at least not in a way. And we've kind of eliminated the ability to actually take criticism or take advice from people, especially because a lot of it comes at the hands of people on the internet. So you're already predisposed to not necessarily like want to hear it. Even if maybe you're getting good advice, a lot of times it's not exactly given to you in the most polite of ways.
Yeah.
And even if you're hearing what you need to hear, somebody's telling you what you need to hear, it would mean more if it came from somebody who actually knew you, but I don't know if that's actually happening to
Lydia
her.
responded to this and said, on my way to get parenting advice from Casey Anthony and business direction from Elizabeth Holmes.
Thank you, Lydia. Oh, there it is right there. Thank you, Lydia.
Love that. Love that for you.
That is the way it is. I don't know if there's a worse person you could get marriage advice from, but it's just unbelievably cynical to me. The way that it's the lack of even attempting to talk about that commitment is hard work, that relationships are hard work, let alone marriage, which is even more work long term. And if you were married that many times in that short of a period of time, it's not as if you went the distance for 2 decades and then it fell apart. It's that you didn't even make it past that first initial period, where a lot of times people are the happiest because they're still filled with all of the chemicals that make your brain kind of crazy when you're in a new relationship.
We've got one from Rhaegar Targaryen. said, I just saw Oppenheimer and I cannot stop thinking about it. That man was done dirty. I like the focus on communism and political subterfuge. Christopher Nolan is one of the only people I trust to handle political drama.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think he's secretly based. I would maybe say I agree. I can't
We almost believed it when the headline said he came out as non-binary.
Yes. It would have been really funny if he had. I loved Oppenheimer. Like, I really thought a lot of those critiques, like, what was it? Like, Jack Posobiec said, like, it's a love letter to communism. I'm like, you didn't watch it very closely.
Not
then.
exactly.
Have
you guys seen those like street interview videos where they'll like go up to an elderly married couple and ask them, how long have you been together and what is your advice for keeping a long-lasting healthy marriage? Yeah. And a lot of the things that they reiterate every time are like, being married will reveal to you your weaknesses and reveal to you how selfish you are. Probably having kids is a huge part of that too. Yeah. And it's a purifying thing. It's like a purifying fire that will like cleanse you of a lot of your selfishness. And if you're like Mia Khalifa or you're an influencer, your entire life and career has been all about you. Yeah. Then you're not capable of being in a relationship where you focus on another person for once.
Yeah. It's I don't know if that's something that can change. I think with us living increasingly more within our phones and digitally, like I don't know if we are able to foster a less narcissistic and self-involved culture. I think it only, unfortunately, I think it only gets worse over time. In my opinion, do you think that's something that we can change, that we can pull back?
There's studies that say that like Gen Z and young people have a significant conservative streak in them. So we'll see. I don't know.
Especially teenage boys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know because I think that as much as society has really demonized men and boys for the past 20, 30 years, I think that that's going to start to be minimized more. I don't know about stop. I don't think it's going to stop, but I think it's going to be at least receive pushback. And I think that might help society a little bit.
I think we need WGTOW, where all of these women who supposedly hate men so much can go their own way and stop trying to get married when they clearly hate all men.
I thought they were called radfems.
Yeah, that's I guess the corollary there. Yeah.
The Jose from Tower Game, who was on last night, he met his wife and they got married a month later, and they've been married 10 years.
I think Candace Owens and her husband also got married very quickly.
That kind of stuff happens, but you have to find it's not so much about finding the right person. It's about finding the person that wants to stay married and work on the marriage. It's not like...
That's what he basically said. He said, like, look, he goes, we became more attracted to each other as the relationship went on. They grew into it more.
That's what happens when you but it takes the commitment. Like when people ask, like, how to, you ask old people or people that have been couples for a long time, stuff, always like, how did you do it? And it's like, well, we just never broke up. And it's that simple. Like the things that really upset you that you're like, man, I don't know if I can do it. Like they just didn't do the man, I don't know if I could do it part. They just said, well, I'm pissed off and then I'm going to talk to him or figure it out. But it is as simple as not leaving. Like granted, if it's infidelity or violence, I get it. Like those kind of things, you can't stay in a relationship. But otherwise, like if he leaves the seat up all the time, friggin' deal. Like learn how to deal with it. Learn how to talk to him and communicate with him. If she does something that's annoying all the time, she spends too much money, deal. Figure it out. But those are the things that are small things that you can get through in your relationship. The things you can't, I get it. Violence or abuse, that stuff does happen and people need a way out. But otherwise, like she burnt dinner, shut up. You have dinner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hope to see that more people end up finding ways to to get married and stay married, because the divorce rates are unfortunately very, very high. But if society is changing and we're pushing in another direction, and also just learning to value it more, I guess. And it just feels like there's also like Hollywood has been very cynical for a very long time about marriage. So a lot of the culture, a lot of the media, there was a whole genre of movies, whether we're talking about American Beauty, a lot of movies and stuff that came out in the late 90s and the early 2000s bemoaned suburban life. Like, you had it really... Think about Office Space. It's not really to do with marriage.
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh,
American
no.
Beauty was definitely hating on suburban American life.
And what it is they didn't understand how good they had it. It was about the boredom of that suburban life that you had. The problem is that's coming from the mind of a writer who has moved to Hollywood, where they're not living the values of somebody in middle America, but those ideas were pushed forth to the general public, and I think that caught into the consciousness of society, and a lot of those values have been kind of eroded by popular culture and film as well.
I think the cynical tone that society has is a significant detriment to marriage and stuff like that, because people go into marriage expecting to divorce.
Yeah.
Like, this is my starter husband.
Oh God, like that kind of stuff.
That term has proliferated. I think extended adolescence is also a huge factor here. I mean, Mia Khalifa is a 30-year-old woman, and she lives the life of a teenager.
I live the life of a teenager myself, so I'm not in any position.
Well, what I mean by that is how self-centered she is.
Okay, all right.
And emotionally immature. I just saw this headline from a few days ago. Mia Khalifa told a passenger on her flight that it was her honeymoon so that they could switch seats and she would get to sit next to her friend. Who lives like that?
You're just a bad person.
You're
just a bad person.
Who would want to put up with someone like that?
It was like that story I have, like where I was on
still
the plane.
like throws shade at her ex-boyfriend. Like, you're 30 years old. Grow the hell up.
Well, also she doesn't have to go to a normal job.
And anyone who, like, in this country who's like 18 to 22, who is ready to get married is miles ahead in maturity compared to a 30-year-old woman that acts like this. So I'm not, denigrating marriage for the people who actually value it. I think that if you don't value the sanctity and indissolubility of marriage, then stay away from the institution. Just don't engage with it.
Yeah.
If you don't value the
even,
sanctimoniousness.
don't get legally married. Just have a wedding. If that's what you want to do, is throw a party and wear a pretty dress. Do that.
The thing is, I think that a lot of people would do that if their friends wouldn't tell them to shut the hell up. Like, if your mom and dad wouldn't be like, no, we're not going to your dumb party that's not really a wedding. Like, like, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, it's not really a wedding? Yeah, I'm going to stay home. Yeah, I really, because honestly, because there's only a handful of people that I know that I would go to their wedding.
Yeah.
Like, if you're really my friend, you're probably not going to invite me to your wedding because I don't want to go.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.